Welcome to the Kindred Tree podcast. I'm your guide, Vanessa Durrant. Join us as we have kindred conversations around all things meaningful. Come along as we take this journey together and bring our awareness into new pathways of discovery and growth. Welcome, everyone. I am so excited that this moment is finally here. I have had this idea of bringing a podcast forward for a few years now, and so it's so exciting to finally see that idea into fruition. I wanted to go ahead and provide a little bit of focus today's episode on providing a little bit more of an intention behind what the reason for this podcast is. One of the things that I really feel strongly about is that, and I want to normalize that it is okay to foster and deepen our connections with one another. I feel really strongly about that because as I sit and reflect on my week-to-week experiences, I notice that, even though we're in a time where we are so hyper-connected, we're actually feeling lonelier and more disconnected than ever. So in setting this intention for today, I really want to focus on what is the hope here in our podcast. And we call this the Kindred Tree podcast. The reason that we're calling this the Kindred Tree podcast is because it's a reflection of the things that we here at Kindred Tree Healing Center do with a twist. We'll be able to also talk about other things other than, therapy-related topics. And in order to understand, what we do at Kindred Tree Healing Center, I'd like to also talk a little bit more about what does it even mean to be kindred? So to be kindred, the definition of kindred is to be of a similar nature or character. And as I was thinking of forming Kindred Tree Healing Center, I just intuited that name. One day I was walking and the name Kindred Tree Healing Center came forward for me. And I never looked back and I never questioned it. But instead, what I did do was I tried to create meaning for what does this mean? And so Kindred Tree Healing Center really stands for kindred people healing together. It's obvious that the metaphor here is the notion of the kindred tree. And so one of my observations throughout life has been that when trees are in a forest or in a grove, they all hang together and there tends to be a diversity of trees. They tend to not be all of the same kind. They just exist. And, the elements come and get to them sometimes. The wind comes, their leaves rustle, and they're able to just coexist and grow in this fashion. And I've always had that thought to myself of, wow, look at how beautiful it is to be a tree and just exist and just honor yourself for what you are. And in that same notion, that's what to be kindred is all about within the context of Kindred Tree Healing Center. And so that's why the kindred tree is really just a metaphor for kindred people to be able to come and access healing and a sense of community. And so we've named this the Kindred Tree podcast because it's an extension of what we do. And the term Kindred Tree came about in a very intentional way. We have a group chat at work with all of us therapists. And as we were, trying to find a way to refer to ourselves, Anna, who you'll often see featured on the podcast, came up with the name Kindred Tree so that we would really be referring to ourselves, not necessarily as Kindred Tree ladies, because all of us right now identify as female, but that we could connect with one another in a way that is beyond our identities and our gender. And also reflective of the families that we have and that we are a collective all under the same mission, all under the same Kindred Tree mission. And so when it was time to name this podcast, Kindred Tree was just a very natural fit because we're just extending that same sense of community to our listeners. And we want to be able to have those kindred conversations with one another and with those that resonate with the things that we'll be talking about. Something that I feel really strongly about is to be able to use this platform as a way to amplify the voices, especially those voices that have been historically oppressed or silenced. And we will have people join us on our podcast that will be able to share their specific experiences and life missions, and we'll be able to really amplify those voices here. Along the lines of, fostering intentional community, which is, the bigger intention in our podcast, one of the reflections that I sit with all the time is this whole notion that we evolutionarily used to exist among, tribes, groups of people, cohorts. And evolutionarily, for every child, there used to be 6 to 8 caregivers who were helping to raise this child. And, in our modern world right now, we honestly feel lucky if we have 1 to 2 people helping to raise a child. And yet again, we're in this place where we don't have the same cohort of people or village or tribe of people that are helping to raise a child evolutionarily like it, used to be the case. And we're plugged into our modern worlds. We're hyper plugged in, text messages are always coming in. We can pick up the phone and reach somebody in a matter of seconds. We have social media at our disposal, and yet we still feel lonely. And one of the reasons that I really think, we are where we are is because our systems are still primed to connect with one another in a deep way, in a deeper way than meets the eye, than that surface level connection. And especially with those that we choose to do life with, which is, our families. With all this said, I think about this notion of, wow, as a human race, we're really wanting to foster deeper connections. And yet it feels hard to be able to do that. It's almost like there isn't enough time in the day to be able to do that. We live in a time right now where we often spend more time in our workplaces than with the people that we do choose as our families, especially for those that, work the standard 40 to 60-hour work week. And I can honestly develop a whole podcast episode talking about that and breaking that down a little bit more. But for today, I want to use that as an intention for, we're really craving this. And I want to normalize that it's okay to crave something, bigger and more meaningful than what our current experience is. And when we are living life constantly in that work hustle and we're spending less time with the people that, are most important to us, we're going to eventually fall victim to, we're living on autopilot mode. And that autopilot mode may kick in for one day, that trickles into 1 week, a month, years. And the next thing we know, we're feeling really disconnected to our own selves and especially to those around us. And so hopefully by plugging in and using this moment, to tune in to whatever we may be talking about, it may encourage some deeper reflection in your own life. And hopefully you can leave, listening to this podcast with some form of golden nugget of wisdom. And that golden nugget of wisdom may not necessarily come from something directly that I said, but more so some form of thought that I mentioned that may have triggered something deeper within you, helped you to access that own point of self-awareness or discovery for your own self. I often find that self-reflection and connection can be the catalyst for our own positive growth and evolution. And I'll use the animal world as a metaphor here for what I'm trying to say. I've been really delighting in thinking about this, especially the last few months. I've really been thinking about this. So think about when you go to a wildlife preserve or to a zoo and you see the elephant and you're completely, stop in your tracks and you check in with the elephant and you see that it's walking. And if you're with your family, maybe you tell one of your kids, look, it's walking. And you just completely are enamored with that moment. And then you move into the next exhibit and maybe you're looking at the gorillas and you're, thinking to yourself, wow, they're so huge, or wow, look at their eyes, they're so beautiful. Maybe that gorilla's not paying attention to you and it's playing with another little gorilla friend. And you're just marveling at that moment. And then next thing you know, the gorilla is looking you in the eye. And you turn to your family and you say, look, it's looking at us. And, that moment of delight, of connecting with something bigger than yourself is so hardwired in us. And this is why people enjoy going to places like zoos and wildlife preserves. And it's really interesting because we go there to connect with something bigger than us, to connect, to the animal kingdom. Or other people, intentionally don't support zoos because they are so connected to the animals that they feel a sense of, I don't want to support an animal being confined or caged. Or even people that decide to go to zoos, when they connect with that gorilla or they look at that, eagle, they sit there and bask in its beauty and also sit there and with pain, thinking about how, wow, that animal is caged. I wish that tiger had more room to walk, or, that one parrot looks stressed. And so whether you have that line of reasoning or thought or feelings when you look at an animal at a zoo or at a wildlife preserve, or whether you look in utter delight for the animal that you're looking at connecting with, regardless of where that thought comes from, they're both coming from the same place of really feeling connected. And the more that you feel and honor that for yourself, the more that it is going to instill a sense of thinking about things from a deeper perspective. Perhaps you went to the zoo just to have a fun time, and then you did notice that, oh, wow, that cage is too small. And, you started a conversation with your children or with your friend, and that led you to have a different form of awareness. And this is a perfect example of how our own connection, whether it is to an animal or to another human, can be a catalyst for positive evolution forward, and an opportunity to be able to have conversations around what you're noticing for yourself and for those around you. And we really can't get there without just being able to be present in the moment and, giving ourselves room to breathe and think. And yet in our world, we often don't really give ourselves that kind of breathing space. If you've been feeling what I'm talking about, if you've been feeling disconnected, if you've been feeling lonely, I really want you to leave today with a bit of inspiration and a bit of inner connection. And so I'd like to invite you to keep tuning in and, do this meditation with me. So give yourselves a moment. And if you're in the car and you're listening to this, that's okay. Maybe just listen to me guide you through this. Or maybe pause and catch this podcast at home where you would be able to get yourself cozy. So what I'd like for you to do in order for us to do this meditation, and my hope is that this meditation can be affirming for you, affirming to where you are and where you want to be. But I'd like for you, if you're like in your perfect meditation place and you're like more in a meditative position where your legs are crossed, I want you to feel the support of the floor beneath you on your spine, on your sit bones. And if you're sitting in a chair, I want you to lower both of your legs to the floor, to the ground, so that your feet are touching the ground. And I want you to feel your connection to the ground and how it's supporting your feet. I want you to feel your connection to the chair that you're sitting on and how it's supporting those sit bones. Then I want you to go ahead and bring your awareness to your core. So your core, we refer this in energetic terms to your solar plexus area. It's essentially where your sunshine lives. And what I mean by that, it's what we project onto the world and how we show up into the world and the confidence that we have within ourselves and outside of ourselves. And so bring your attention to your core and feel that core sustaining you also in the chair. And fill it with a sense of strength. And I want this meditation to really be reflective of we're sitting here talking about, we're, interconnected. I want this meditation to be also connected to the elements for us. And so, we think about the sun, and the sun shines every single day, despite our choosing. It chooses to shine, and it brings warmth to our faces and our bodies and to the earth. And then when it is ready to set in our part of the world, the moon emerges. And the moon gives its glow and it illuminates the dark. And I want us to work with that sense of light and dark. We need the light of the sun and we need the glow and the darkness of the moon. We need both of those things. And so as you bring your attention to your core, I really want you to bring in that sunshine there, that strength that the sun provides us. Now I want you to connect with your heart, and you may do so by maybe placing a hand on your heart. And notice the natural breath that you have, wherever it is, if it's shallow breathing or if it's deeper breathing. Go ahead and just take a moment to notice that. And as I guide you, I'm also doing this myself, so you might hear me breathing a little deeper. So now I'm connecting consciously my core, and I'm connecting that with my heart. I'm noticing that my heartbeat and the rhythm of my heart. I want you to keep breathing whatever breath comes natural for you. I really want to emphasize that there is no wrong way to breathe. Your breath is yours, all at any given moment of the day. Allow that to be your breath. As you tune into your breath, I want you to notice, can I take my breath a few seconds further? So typically when we're breathing at 60 to 70% of our capacity. But if we can extend our breath just a little bit, we're bringing in more life force into us. So go ahead and see if you can extend your breath a few more seconds further. Do that a few more times. And as you're connecting to your breath, I want you to bring your two hands together and warm them up a little bit. We're warming our hands up so that we can go ahead and bring more energy to ourselves. And as we warm our hands up, you can place one hand over your heart and maybe the other hand over in your core area. And I want those two hands to give you a sense of strength to your heart and your core, and to strengthen your back. So now, as we continue this meditation, you feel stronger in your spine. And now we're going to develop a mantra. And so today's podcast episode, was about setting our intention for fostering deeper, meaningful connections with ourselves and one another. And so I'd like to offer the mantra of, I am connected to myself. I am connected to my community. So maybe you say that in shorter terms, and maybe what you say as your mantra is connection, community. And I want you to bring back the metaphor of the sun. And as you close your eyes, I want you to imagine the sun bringing in connection and community into your body. Now I want you to think about the moon and how beautiful and comforting the glow of the moon is, and how it illuminates and brings soft glow and illumination to dark places. And I want you to think about how we can allow that soft glow to come into contact with anything that feels dark in our life right now, anything that keeps us away from feeling connection or community. So bring in the glow of the moon into those spaces as you keep breathing. As you keep thinking the words connection, community. We're feeling connected to the sun and the sunshine it offers us. And we're feeling connected to the moon and the illumination that it provides us with. Keep breathing, extending your breath a few more seconds, 4 to 6 more seconds. Now I want you to think of someone or a community that you would like to bring this healing awareness to. Who can you extend this light and illumination to that you're feeling within yourself? And as you think about that person or community, I want you to continue to think the words connection, community. And offer them this same sense of sunshine and illumination. I want you to feel that heart-to-heart connection. When we do that, we actually begin to foster rhythmic interconnection with one another. It's the same thing that trees do with one another. So we'll take just another minute to keep sending this light of connection and community to somebody else that needs it. When you come back into awareness, I want you to go ahead and just take notice of how your body feels. Do you energetically feel more connected to your own self? Did you get some, wisdom come through? Some thought or feeling come through that was different? And do you now feel more connected to that person or community that you chose to extend some sunshine and moonshine to? And if you do, wonderful. I promise that your day is going to feel different from this moment on. And if you didn't, then this might be a sign that you needed a little bit more time in this meditation. That maybe it was really hard to quiet the busy thoughts in your brain, or to transition from, cognitively talking about something to deep, getting in your body and staying in the moment. So all of it is a message. And my hope is that today you were able to, in a very concrete way, experience something bigger and deeper than yourself. And that you can tune into our next episode. So thank you for tuning in and have a wonderful week.